morning. First, let me address health care. I participated in a bipartisan public square discussion about health care with my colleague, Bobby Scott, who also represents part of the Richmond area, on Monday. In that discussion, there were areas in which Bobby Scott and I agreed. And I do think that there is plenty of room for us to agree on the overall goals of where we need to go as far as health care reform is concerned. Since that discussion, I have heard that the majority leader, Steny Hoyer, has indicated his desire to want to meet if there are areas of agreement. And I believe very strongly that the areas of agreement have to do with the real aim of health care reform, which is to bring down costs, which is to deal with pre-existing conditions, which is to deal with the portability issue, and not having to do with H.R. 3200. The majority can't even get agreement on 3200, even a majority of agreement on 3200, and certainly not 80% of its own members agree on 3200. So let's set that aside. And I'll be more than willing to meet with Mr. Hoyer and to talk about the things that we can agree on. That brings me to the second point. Healthcare in this building has now made it so that we cannot seem to get anything else done. We've got burning issues out there in this country. First and foremost is the fact that Americans want to see job security return. They want to see economic security return. But somehow we're unable to deliver on that because of the intransigence on the majority's part on even discussing ways for us to agree on health care. We've got serious challenges as far as Afghanistan is concerned. That's being clouded by the rigidity with which this majority hangs on to H.R. 3200 and the imposition of a public option. So as the chairman, as Marcia, the leader will say, and Kathy, we stand ready to work with the other side, to focus on areas we can agree on. Let's set aside H.R. 3200, obviously causes much problem on both sides of the aisle.
Well, Republicans have been trying to meet with Democrats for a while. Why do you think that this is going to be different? Have you talked to them at all?
Molly, you indicate that we have been and continue to say we're willing to meet with the other side. You were at the public square discussion that I had with Bobby Scott in a very bipartisan forum about where we can bridge differences. It has come down to this now in the Capitol. We've got to start getting down to work for the American people. Healthcare intransigence, if the other side is going to be absolutely committed to a public option, they're not going to get any Republican support. H.R. 3200, as a leader, has continued to say needs to be scrapped. I'm hopeful that they see that now. Certainly with Afghanistan now becoming such a very troublesome issue, we should be making progress on health care so that it doesn't get in the way of a very concerning national security issue. Afghanistan and Central Asia is the Persian Gulf of the 21st century. We are foolish to be ignoring that threat right now. So I'm hopeful that's what's different right now, given the environment.
It sounds, though, as if you're saying you don't necessarily want to meet with him unless he promises up front to scrap 3200. Would you meet with him without that assurance to begin with?
Well, I think he understands where we are as a conference, and frankly where the American people are. Latest Gallup poll indicates well over 55% of this public thinks that the plan on the table, H.R. 3200, is unacceptable. So with that knowledge, I have to believe the majority leader knows we'll come in with our suggestions on how we focus on what we agree on. That's what we got to be about, the solutions. The pre-existing condition issue, I believe, can be resolved fairly quickly. Both sides of the aisle have proposals on creation of universal access programs, high-risk pools at the state level. Both sides have ideas of how we address the notion in this country that automatically, if you lose your job, you lose your health care. We ought not be supporting a system like that. Both sides have suggestions on how to do that. We could take these issues, work on them, set aside some committed notion they have to a government plan. We're not going to accept that.
How can you offset the cost of doing pre-existing conditions if you don't also do an individual mandate?
Well, again, the examples of states where there are individual and employer mandates have not borne results that indicate the costs have come down. And so we've got to be truly committed to increasing competition. We don't believe as Republicans that you do that through mandating requirements, by defining from Washington what acceptable benefits should be. We don't believe that you drive competition by designing a system that will ultimately push everyone into a single-payer system the way that 3200 is.